Welcome to LC Screen Talk. My name is Larry, and this is my official Oscar predictions video. So the 2021 Academy Awards are finally almost upon us. After being delayed for over 2 months, here we are in late April, and they are finally here. Thank goodness, because this season has drug on way too long, if you ask me. But of course, it's that time, as we do every single year, to bring my picks on who should win each and every category, and ultimately my predictions on who will be taking home that Oscars gold. So, without further ado, we have 23 categories to get through. And when it comes to the short categories, I'm going to give just my quick opinions on all of the nominees, since I didn't actually get the chance to review or rank them separately. So let's kick off with one of those short film categories with live action short film. Surprisingly, The Letter Room, starring my love, Oscar Isaac, was my least favorite in this category. Just because it has the big star doesn't necessarily mean it's all that great. It was actually quite weird. It was a strange film. Definitely came in last for me. Next up is White Eye in fourth place. It had some great things to say, but it just didn't quite impact me as much as some of these others. Then I have Feeling Through, which was quite a beautiful little tale of a homeless youth and his ability to help this deaf and blind man. And then in a very close second for me personally was The Present, which I found to be a really touching, beautiful film that got its message across in a much more nuanced and innovative way. But that does leave my pick on who should win being Two Distant Strangers. And at first, I actually didn't think I was going to love this. I thought it was a little bit more in your face with its messaging than so many of the other films that did that so well. But then it curveballs into a really great metaphor for its subject matter, a really innovative way to tell this type of story. I thought the acting was really good, the script was fantastic, and it blew me away by the end. I thought it was really something special. So, Two Distant Strangers should win for live action short, and ultimately, I think Two Distant Strangers will win. It has a very time appropriate message, particularly with more cases back upon us, but it also has a really cinematic, fresh take on the subject matter, though not a fresh take in the cinema world. I think that voters will appreciate this new fashion to address the topic. Next up, we have Best Makeup and Hairstyling. And I actually have not seen Pinocchio. So, yeah, that one may very well come through and take this category. Honestly, it looks absolutely nuts, but obviously I can't pick it for my who should win, which ultimately goes to Ma Rainey's Black Bottom. It was a transformative makeup job, particularly obviously with Viola Davis, but throughout our entire cast, the hair design is amazing. It's great. And then after winning the Critics' Choice Award, the BAFTA, and the Hair and Makeup Styling Guild Award for period makeup and hair, I ultimately think that Ma Rainey's Black Bottom will win. Though Pinocchio is my second pick because it was the one who won the makeup and hairstyling for a fantasy film. Next up, we have costume design. Once again, haven't seen Pinocchio. And once again, I do think that Ma Rainey's Black Bottom should win this award. Now, this one was certainly tough because Emma has beautiful costumes that are very time appropriate and work amazingly well in the film. I also think that Mulan had beautiful costumes, but ultimately, once again, Ma Rainey's Black Bottom weren't over the top, like flashy costumes in most senses, but they too were very time accurate and beautifully done. And again, after winning the Critics' Choice, the BAFTA, and the Costume Guild Award for a period piece, beating some of the competitors in that category, I think Ma Rainey's Black Bottom will win Best Costume Design. Next up, we have Best Production Design, and this is a stacked category overall. We had a ton of beautiful, production design here. And I certainly think the top of the tier comes down to Tenet, which had wonderful production design, Mank, which was absolutely stunning in how it recreated some of these big moments and monuments that we all are familiar with, and The Father, whose production design was so integral to the story. But ultimately, my pick on who should take home this award, it is The Father, just on the fact that I loved the world that they built, but I loved the nuance as we moved throughout these different settings from each place to the next. And particularly, I love that the production design was absolutely integral to the telling of this particular story. It was a character in and of itself. But overall, after winning the Critics' Choice, winning the BAFTA, and winning the Art Direction Guild Award for a period piece, I think Mank is going to win production design. Next up, we have Best Original Song, and this year's category was interesting to say the least. But ultimately, I think who should win is Speak Now. One Night in Miami didn't get the love I think it deserved throughout nomination morning, and Leslie Odom Jr. did such a fantastic job. I don't think he's going to win for Best Supporting Actor, so this would be a wonderful consolation prize for him, plus the song is beautiful. And then when it comes down to who will win, this is a really tough category to predict. We don't have very many precursors. The Golden Globes gave it to Scene from The Life of Head over Speak Now, and then the Critics' Choice gave it to the Speak Now over the rest. And it's tough because the Globes are definitely a better predictor than the Critics' Choice, which aren't that great at predicting Oscar winners. But I think the love is just there for One Night in Miami. I'm hoping it takes home an award somewhere, and this seems the most likely place. So who will win? Speak Now from One Night in Miami. Next up, we have Best Sound, the first year that our sound editing and sound mixing categories were combined into a singular award. Certainly, Soul and Sound of Metal are the top two competitors, and when it comes down to who I think should win this award, 100% Sound of Metal. I said it as soon as I saw that film. If this doesn't win the sound category this year, I would be stunned. And when it comes down to who will win, it won the BAFTA, it won at the Sound Guild Awards. I think Sound of Metal has run away with this one. Lock it in. Next up, we have Best Original Score. And for me personally, it really comes down to Minari and Soul, with Da 5 Bloods being like a solid third place in my book. And while I love Minari's score, I said it as soon as I saw this one as well, Soul was the best score I heard all year. And it is 100% my pick on who should win this category. And guess what? It's going to win. Once again, swept through the BAFTAs, the Golden Globes, the Critics' Choice. It's won it all. For Best Visual Effects, this was a bit of a wonky category, and we have a lot of little, like, smaller hitters up here, which I loved. I love The One and Only Ivan. I love Love and Monsters, and I'm so happy to see both of them get some recognition. However, I cannot deny who should win this award is definitely Tenet. It had stunning visuals on just a different scale to anything else this year. And after winning the Critics' Choice and the BAFTA, even though the awards and a lot of the audience didn't love Tenet, I think it does take home one Oscar for visual effects. All right, next up we have Best Original Screenplay. And once again, I think we have a strong crop overall. My clear winner in this category is Minari. I think it had a flawless screenplay, a flawless script that built up interesting characters living in a really organic way, that built its messages and themes into the story of this family so beautifully. However, when it comes down to who will win this award, unfortunately, I do not think Minari really has a chance, because on this one, I'd say we have a two-horse race between Promising Young Woman and The Trial of the Chicago 7. Honestly, early on, up through the Golden Globes, I thought Trial and Aaron Sorkin had this in the bag, and it did win the Golden Globe for this award. However, since then, Promising Young Woman has been on a tear, winning the Critics' Choice, winning the Writers Guild, winning BAFTA, and has certainly cemented itself as the front runner here. So, at the end of the day, who I think will win is Promising Young Woman. Moving right along to Best Adapted Screenplay, a category that actually disappointed me just a little bit. I was very sad to not see Ma Rainey's Black Bottom find its way in here because I think that screenplay is fantastic. But it is what it is, and we got a surprise nominee in The White Tiger. But my pick on who should win this award is One Night in Miami. It was one of the cases here in which the playwright who worked on actually writing the screenplay for the play adapted their own work, and I think they did so fantastically when it comes to One Night in Miami. And I just think it deals with the most. It has like the most dialogue heavy work here that is interjected well, paced well, and just works beautifully. So I would pick One Night in Miami. However, when it comes to who will win, it certainly looks like it's between The Father and Nomadland, which was not eligible for the Writers Guild Best Adapted Screenplay. So the Writers Guild went to Borat's subsequent movie film, the Critics' Choice went to Nomadland, and then the BAFTAs went to The Father. So we're a little bit all over the place when it comes to Best Adapted Screenplay. So at the end of the day, it's a little bit more of a tough one to predict, but I'm going with probably the safest bet, the odds-on favorite to win picture later on, and I think Nomadland wins for Best Original Screenplay. Next up, Best Cinematography, a category that definitely let me down when Minari was snubbed in place for this trial of Chicago 7, which still baffles me. But here we are with our 5 nominees. Now, who I think should win this category is Nomadland. I thought the cinematography was absolutely stunning. Chloe Zhao really is able to capture the intimacy as well as the grand beauty that a film like this requires, and it's done impeccably. Now, who will win just got thrown a curveball right at the last second with the Cinematography Society announcing Mank as their winner, because prior to that, Nomadland seemed like a pretty safe bet after winning Critics' Choice and after winning the BAFTA. Unfortunately for Mank, though, the Cinematography Society doesn't have the best track record amongst the guilds when it comes to being an Oscar predictor. So ultimately, I think who will win is Nomadland. Next, let's take a look at animated short film. And this was a weird bunch this year. So we had Genius Loci. Sorry, French, for butchering that. That was my least favorite. I didn't quite understand. It was too abstract and just was too much for me. Then I have Yes People, which I thought was entertaining enough. Then we have Burrow from Pixar, which is a little bit distressing that this got in as the Pixar nominee instead of Out, which had much more of a message and was still cute and more innovatively animated. Burrow is cute, it's fine, but it's so bleh overall. Then I had Opera as my number 2 because I thought the innovation of how they shot it and the way they animated it was amazing. Plus, it had a lot deeper of a message. So I found it to be beautiful, just maybe a little bit abstract as well. But ultimately, my pick on who should win is If Anything Happens, I Love You, the Netflix animated film about a school shooting and parents dealing with that grief of the aftermath. And it was really beautifully done all across the board. The animation, as we work up to that event, everything about it really just struck home with me. And I thought it was easily the best in this category. And who will win? If Anything Happens, I Love You. Once again, it is very unfortunately time sensitive and hot button issue that continues on. It pulls at the heartstrings, and I just think it has a lot to say and says it in an effective manner. Moving along to the animated feature film category, I actually really enjoy almost all of the nominees. Unpopular opinion, Over the Moon is actually my least favorite one here. But when it comes down to the end of the day, I think the two that should win are also the two that have the best chance at winning, and that is between Soul and Wolfwalkers. They were both in my top 5 favorite films overall of 2020. I loved both films. But ultimately, maybe not the most popular opinion among cinephiles and film Twitter for sure, but I do think Soul should win this award. It is more innovative, it is more daring, it takes risks in how it delivers really deep messages for a children and family oriented animated film. The animation is stunning and it really just delivers on everything it needed to, in my personal opinion. It has some controversies which detract just a tad, but I really appreciated that Pixar decided to push themselves and push the medium of their own deeper storytelling. And while I love Wolfwalkers and think it is stunning in animation and it really just hit me personally, when it comes down to the story itself, it's actually much more conventional and less daring than the Pixar film, which actually the leading Pixar nominee is far and away the most daring of this crop. And when it comes down to who will win, this one is an easy win for Soul. I know a lot of people had hope that Cartoon Saloon and Wolfwalkers could pull the upset, but here we are after the BAFTAs, after the Golden Globes, and then the Annies were a split bag, with Wolfwalkers winning independent feature, Soul winning feature film, but ultimately I think Soul has this one in the bag. Next up, I have Best Documentary Short Film. Now, I think this is one of people's favorites, but coming in fifth for me is A Concerto is a Conversation. I thought it was cute enough. I thought it was a sweet little short film, but it was not what I was expecting and not as focused as I would have liked. But whoever that composer is, A. Then I have A Love Song for Latasha, which was a heartbreaking story and had some beautiful stories to tell from these people on this tragic event. But I just found the idea to go completely black screen with just like the weird throbbing colors over audio. It just wasn't as cinematic as some of the others. Then I have Colette, which was a sweet documentary about a really deep subject, but ultimately I kind of found myself agreeing with Colette. I didn't know why she had to be put through this. And then the runner-up for me is Do Not Split, which was certainly the most frenetic and lively of these nominees. You were constantly in the action and on the move, real-time watching as this chaos and insanity ensues in Hong Kong. It was riveting to watch. But at the end of the day, my pick on who should win is Hunger Ward. This is legit maybe the most depressing thing I've ever watched in my entire life. It was horrifying to see, but so effective in that horror and spotlighting these amazing women who are trying their best in an impossible scenario. Obviously, it also called for change at the end and inspired me to run out and see what possibly could even be done about this, because it is absolutely tragic. So it inspired change organically within me by providing the resources, and it's the one that I just can't stop thinking about. As for who will win, I honestly don't really have a clue. Documentary short is always one of the hardest categories to predict. I'm going to go with Hunger Ward just because it was the most devastating. So I'm going to say it will take home the trophy. Next up is Best Documentary Feature, another really strong category. But at the end of the day, the animal lover in me wins out overall, and I just loved My Octopus Teacher. I thought it was so moving and touching and had so much to say in such a simple and heartfelt way that it definitely gets my vote on who should win. And surprisingly, it actually is my pick on who will win come Oscar night. Recently, it has this huge surge of support backing it. BAFTAs, the Producers Guild even selected it. And it seems the most simple in message, but it's just so heartfelt that I think people are really championing this little film. So my pick for who will win, My Octopus Teacher. Next up is film editing, which has turned into a crapshoot of a race. My pick on who should win, though, is easily Sound of Metal. I think it was beautifully edited across all categories. It is just stunning work. As for who will win, I think it's between Sound of Metal and The Trial of the Chicago 7, both of which have received quite a bit of support. Trial of Chicago 7 certainly delivers more flashy editing, in-your-face, quick-cut type of editing, and we know the Academy loves that. But especially recently, the sound categories and the editing category have been linked pretty heavily. I'm going to stick it out, and I think that Sound of Metal is going to pull it off and ultimately win for Best Editing. Next up, we have Best International Feature. And one of these films made my top 10 favorite films of the year. So my pick on who should win is Another Round. I just found it to be a really beautiful little film that transports you through so many emotions. And when it comes to who will win, this is a no-brainer. One of these films got a nomination for Best Director, and the rest did not. So ultimately, who will win is Another Round. Next up, we have a Best Supporting Actress. Now, this is an easy one for me to say who should win, and that is Yoo Jung-yoon from Minari. By far, the best supporting actress performance of 2020. She was amazing. Then you meet her as a person, and she's even more amazing. This is a blowout for me on who should win. Now, when it comes to who will win, it's a little bit dicier, but I think the waters have evened out enough. So we had Jodie Foster steal the Golden Globes and not get an Oscar nominee. Then we had Maria Bakalova win the Critics' Choice after getting a lead actress nomination at the Globes that she lost. And it seemed like maybe she had emerged as the front runner, but then Yoo Jung-yoon just took hold of the category with the BAFTAs, with the SAG Award, and I think her speeches have just been so fantastic. She's the deserving winner, so I'm locking it in. Yoo Jung-yoon will win Supporting Actress. As for actor in a supporting role, for my picks on who should win, it's pretty close between Paul Raci and Daniel Kaluuya, although I think Lakeith Stanfield gives an amazing performance. I don't think he's the supporting role in this film, so I wouldn't vote for him. But at the end of the day, who should win is Daniel Kaluuya. His performance is just so powerful and magnetic. It is truly a stunner to behold. And when it comes down to who will win, this one's an easy one. I locked in my prediction for Daniel Kaluuya a long time ago. He's got this win in the bag. Moving along to actor in a leading role. 4 out of the 5 are fantastic. Gary Oldman, I would have replaced personally with Delroy Lindo, but here we are. Thankfully, he doesn't have a chance at winning. Sorry, Oldman fans. And then my personal favorites were definitely Chadwick Boseman, Anthony Hopkins, and Riz Ahmed, who were all fantastic. But ultimately, Chadwick Boseman's performance just really moved me with heavy material, really dialogue heavy material that he was able to transform into something relatable, and it was beautiful work. As for who will win, it seems to come down to Chadwick Boseman or Anthony Hopkins, who got just a little boost right there at the end at the BAFTAs, but I don't think it's enough. Golden Globes, SAGs, Critics' Choice all point to our eventual winner, which is going to be Chadwick Boseman. And now, one of the most unpredictable categories of the night. We have Best Actress in a Leading Role. Now, if the Academy wanted to just unleash complete and total havoc and give us mania across the board, Vanessa Kirby would win this thing because she's the only one who hasn't won a precursor. Alas, I interpret that as she's the only one here without a chance. Also, seeing as she lost in her home country with the BAFTAs to Frances McDormand, who personally gives my least favorite performance in the bunch. And honestly, I also don't really think she has a great chance at winning this either. Andra Day shocked us all with that Golden Globes win, and she's fantastic, so I'm not mad about it. But my top 2 for who should win are the same top 2 in the running for who I think will win this award. And it comes down to Viola Davis and Carey Mulligan, both of whom I think are fantastic. Now, my pick on who should win is Viola Davis. That performance was just so spectacular to me. It was something really special. It was a transformation for her as an actress. As soon as I saw it, I knew that it was going to be hard to beat that. And as I watched Carey Mulligan, as I watched Vanessa Kirby after I had already seen Ma Rainey's, they just couldn't move me and impact me like Viola did. Now, when it comes to who will win, I already mentioned the Golden Globes and the BAFTAs went to Frances and to Andra, but I don't think they are going to walk away with this prize. Ultimately, I think it is between Carey Mulligan with Promising Young Woman having a ton of support, including in screenplay, director, and picture. So the love for the film is there. Carey Mulligan has never won, and it's a film that people have just gravitated towards. However, her precursor came at the Critics' Choice, which is one of the least reliable precursors there is. Meanwhile, Viola Davis is starring in Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, which did not get near the support. It didn't get into Best Picture, which I think most of us assumed it would be. It didn't get a screenplay, it didn't get a director nom. However, Viola Davis won the SAG Award for lead actress, which is a much stronger indicator of this category. So overall, honestly, it really is still a 5-woman race if you look at it any which way. But my pick on who will win Best Actress in a leading role is Viola Davis for Ma Rainey's Black Bottom. Next, we have Best Director, and this was an easy one for me on who should win. Chloe Zhao for Nomadland. That film is a director's film. Chloe threw that film on her back. She did everything to make it happen, and it is all about her direction. She influenced her own film more than any of the other directors here did, and I think that is 100% why she should win this. And thankfully, she's going to win this. Talk about one of the easiest predictions of the night. Best Director is going to Chloe Zhao. She has dominated, absolutely swept through the award season, and it would be a stunner if she somehow magically lost. And then Best Picture. Now, if you have watched my Oscar Best Picture ranking video, if you watched my favorite films of 2020, you already know what my pick on who should win is, and that is Minari. It's easily my favorite, honestly, of these nominees. A close second actually is Sound of Metal, but Minari just did everything, and it did everything perfectly in my book, from the performances to the cinematography, the score, the direction, the screenplay. Everything about it is pretty much perfectly crafted, and it emotionally resonates so much harder than a lot of these other films, including Nomadland. And I think they are similar in quite a few ways, but Minari just hits on a more personal and human level than that film. But when it comes to who will win Best Picture, people are trying to stir up the pot that Chicago has a way to victory still, that Promising Young Woman is really close, even that Minari has so much love that it's right there. But I just can't get past the facts of what has happened this season. Who will win is Nomadland. It won the BAFTA, it won the Producers Guild, it won the Critics' Choice, it won the Golden Globe. It has won Best Picture across all of these different critic and guild groups. It wasn't nominated for the SAG award, and that's probably mainly because it's full of non-actors who aren't part of SAG. They're just normal people. It didn't really have an ensemble performance there, whereas the Trial of Chicago 7 did. I think sometimes we forget that definition of what the Screen Acting Ensemble Award is at the SAGs. So I don't put much credence in Nomadland not making it in there. I put much more credence into the fact that it's won virtually everything else, everywhere else. And I think it wins the Oscar for Best Picture. So that's it. Those are my predictions and my picks on who should win and who will win come the night of the Academy Awards. What do you think? Do you agree with my picks? Do you think I'm crazy for some of my choices? Most importantly, I want to hear your picks. Let's compare notes so we can keep track next Sunday. Leave all of your Oscar predictions in the comment section. down below, or of course, you can hit me up on Twitter. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to hit that like button down below and subscribe to the channel so you are always up to date on my latest videos, including my recap and review of The Big Night, Late Night Sunday. I love you all so much for your continued support. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.